There's bad shops, but there's some bad customers too. With unrealistic expectations. You got to pry money out of them. And even if you tell them, you're like, this thing's going to be 300 grand. You're at 43,000 and they're starting to tighten up. It's like, we're not even close to where we need to be. And you have no reason for concern. And this is the way you're behaving now. Then it's time for you to go. If you want to ruin a project, then be that guy. As soon as you suck the fun out of it, that's the end.
Welcome back to another episode on Modify with TrickFactory Customs. If this is your first time watching, my name is Elvis.
Tim?
Rob.
And on this episode, we are going to be talking about different types of customers.
Yes.
This is going to be a lot of fun. Tim and Rob have had TrickFactory for about almost 20 years now.
Almost
right?
20 years.
Yes, yeah. And in that time, there have been a lot of customers come and go, and they've got to experience a lot of different types of personalities. And so I'm looking forward to hearing all you guys have to say. Because
So what's inspired this is I have a bunch of other shops asking me how I deal with customers and resolve certain problems. So today, first, we're going to identify all of those problem customers.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so this should be a spicy one. So
you thought it was going to be a short list.
I literally thought it was going to be like four different types of customers. You guys cannot guess how many there are. Let's just say there's over 10. So this should be fun. With that said, let us get started. Before we dive into the topic, there have been a lot of things that I feel like that's been happening. We haven't had like just three of us chat
it's been a while.
in a bit. Yeah.
Right, it has been a while.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of really good guests lately. So
yeah,
it's been a while since it's just been the three of us.
Yeah.
So surprisingly enough, people have been asking for more. So here we are.
Yes. And so what's been happening in the shop?
Lots of
things. A lot of things. AMG is pretty much done.
Yep. Another G-Wagon's done. And then
some projects came in new. The Corvette and
there's too much stuff.
The Mustang and
And there's so many things. I mean, if you guys are really interested, you're gonna have to follow our Instagram.
Yes. So
follow all that stuff because there's too much stuff.
And then personal projects. Evo hit 1,000. 1,000 what? Well, how many horsepower?
Did 1,026 to the wheels.
Oh my god!
But that was based on how much torque we could produce.
Yes.
That was essentially like capped. We capped it there
at 863 foot-pounds because my driveline can't handle any more than that. So there's room left, but it's terrifying. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just basically reminded us that we have more yet to do on the car because it is a constant evolution. And we need to get the traction control system on that thing dialed in because right now it just boils the tires like almost instantly. It was awesome.
Every time I see you driving it away from from one shop to another, it's literally just like kind of sideways, just screaming for life.
Fun. It's pretty good. I mean, thank goodness it's in a 190E, which is a pretty good chassis to start with. So makes it a pretty.
Plant's pretty good. You can't hold it just breaks the tires loose.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty fucking cool, man.
So stay tuned. More videos on that coming because we've not gotten to actually see what it was like or what it has been like a comprehensive drive video.
Yeah, I got to drive it quite a bit the one day, but I think it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
Because it's like probably a solid. I think it made 560 wheel with no boost or 6 something. What did it make? Something like that.
Yeah, 550.
Yeah, it was in the sixes. It was in the sixes before we even got onto boost.
So if you keep it under that, then it's I was driving around the neighborhood, no problem. It's very mild mannered. But when the boost comes on, it's
awesome.
Insane.
It's super cool. That was a big day. Yeah. That was a big day for us. I mean, we've been building towards that for a long time. There was a bunch of things that kind of set us back and held us up on that, and we worked our way through those things. And when the time presented itself for a dyno session, we jumped on it and we did. It was awesome.
Yeah, nothing broke. Everything was great. I mean, the temperature sensor was kind of
the only thing that's still sore is my ass. Because everybody associated to the whole thing decided that they wanted a fucking piece of it. So
So maybe we'll do an episode on that at some point. An episode on that. So, so with that said, let's just dive right into the topic. So different types of customers. So who wants to start?
I have a list.
Oh shoot.
Well,
okay.
let's
let's
in
jump into
our
the list.
shop, Tim is the man that like handles all the customers. He runs that side of things, right?
Yes.
I'm more like on the shop floor kind of guy. So my interaction with our customers is a little bit more on like the creative side of things.
But
So my perspective is different. So Tim's the one with the big list.
I got the list.
oh
yeah.
my god. So
And I get to hear about all these people and I get to interact with them all. But
So
this should be fun.
These are in no particular order.
Okay, so are we gonna go one
Should we
by
go point
one?
by point?
Or do we just list all of them and then
No,
dive
I
into
think we
each
should
one?
go point by point.
Okay, yep, send it.
And then if we hit some of them along the way, because some of them, there's some guys hit 2 or 3 different ones.
Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah.
So
Some of them are, they're multi hitters.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, where should we start? Just top to bottom?
Just top to bottom.
Yeah, just
Send
do the
it.
top.
So, top guy, number 1, is storage guy.
What is storage
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah, I'm actually interested to hear what your definition of storage guy is too.
Storage guy is, I would say, he's a super nice guy.
Okay.
And he brings his car in here, and he's never in a rush. He's not in a hurry. Take your time.
Yeah.
All that kind of thing. Why? Because, and then it happens where it's like, you know what? Like, we should probably get on this guy's shit and just hammer it out. And then we do, and he never has money. So he was like hoping that you would like take 2 years and store his car for him. And then he gets to stop in and he gets to chat about his car. And he's the super nice guy. Like, yeah, man, I really got to get on your car. And he's, no, take your time, man. Good things come to those who wait.
Yeah.
And then you think about it, you're like, this fucking guy just wants to store his car here. So that's that guy. So storage guy.
Yeah, so like storage guy and like almost like define it's definitely like the take your time, no rush guy.
Yeah,
Take
he's
your
that
time,
guy.
no rush
So
storage
you
guy.
gotta be immediately suspect. Like, what?
And
That's the opposite of everybody else.
It kind of sort of becomes more defined and you recognize it more when you've gotten from in the first phase of this build, you've made it through to the end. Now the car is drivable. Take it out and enjoy it. And then there's like a thing where like, hey, well, can you just
Do this.
do this little thing,
And then they wanna keep
while
adding-
it's here and it just keeps on going and you're like, man, just keep chipping away at these little things and it seems like this car is just here for storage.
And then they keep adding little things to prolong the like, maybe we
storage.
should do this. Like, oh, and it's stupid stuff. Like, oh, can you get the windows tinted? You're like, ugh. You're like, can you get the? Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that, and it never goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, of course, like all of these things, all these customers, we've learned these through our experiences, and we love and enjoy what we do, but these things are,
Sometimes you need to change the scenery.
that's just it. I mean, that's a big thing. It's like,
I don't want to
for
work on this
us,
car anymore. Go drive it, bring it
like-
back, and then we'll do it.
nothing wrong with your car. It's a great car. Take it out and enjoy it. But like, I just want a change of scenery.
Yeah.
Put a list together and come back.
Get this thing out of here.
Next.
Next. Okay, the next guy is the don't know guy.
Don't know. I think I have an idea of what this is.
The don't know guy.
He doesn't know what he wants.
So he doesn't know what he wants. He only knows what he doesn't want.
Yes.
And then Dev generally doesn't want to pay for what he thought he wanted and thinks that should be free and he shouldn't have to pay for anything until he gets what he does want.
Yeah, that one's deep, isn't it?
So we've touched on this many times with different processes that we've tried to employ because you don't want to go spend an immense amount of time doing a bunch of metal work or fabrication or paint and body and all this type of stuff just to find out that he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
So we try to do it in foam and now we can 3D render stuff and all this kind of thing. So that's definitely helped with that guy, but there's very much that guy.
Yeah, that guy definitely forces our hand into learning how to figure out how to communicate with them more so. You know,
but
like,
if they don't know, they still don't know.
no, that's true.
Like,
That's true.
And that if you want to hold your project up, that's a good way to do it. Is to not, like we reiterate it all the time, like you need to have a plan or at least an idea. And I just thought of another guy. The other guy that is in direct relation to
The don't know.
don't know guy is a reference guy.
How so? Gives
Like-
you reference images?
Yeah, from shit that does not even relatable. Like you could be working on his car and you'll be like, check out the interior on this Senna.
Yeah.
That doesn't go in that car.
We get that so often.
lot.
You know, and from my perspective in the shop, I get that a lot. You know, like, because I'll interact with our customers because I'm more like trying to figure it out and build it and the creative side of things. And we'll get like reference photos from like one extreme to a whole nother extreme for a certain project. Like, these things don't work together in any way.
And
like,
it doesn't suit
you show
the
me
car.
a Senna interior, but you know, we're building a vehicle over here and your budget's really only this. So you can't have that. Like, I respect and I think that's amazing, but that's not for you for this project.
Because they'll show you then, like, the Bentley interiors is like the go-to for everybody. And then they'll show you the Bentley interior, explain all the things they love about it, and then in the same sentence is like, oh, I also love Mexican blankets. And they're just like, man, you gave me nothing.
So
far
There's
from
like
each
in
other.
between, it's just like,
Yeah, it's the polar opposite in extremes that we get on a certain project through reference materials that is so
it's
confusing.
horrible.
You're like, I don't know which way to go with this person.
I just want something nice and clean and stock-like. And you're like, okay, cool. Then they'll bring you a reference photo from like a $65,000 interior. And you're just like, no. Or they try to, there's the next guy that's very much on that topic, that transition is the bait and switch guy.
Bait and switch. What is that?
Bait and switch guy, he's like, I know every shop out there has dealt with this guy. So it's like, I just want a nice, clean, stock style interior, maybe in a little bit of leather. And then you're like, okay, cool. It's going to be about this much money. If, you know, you could save some, well, maybe we'll do vinyl backs. We'll do vinyl on the console, maybe in the door panel inserts, like keep costs down for you. Because if that's what your budget is, we'll try to work to it. And it's like, okay, cool. What's the price? You give them the price and it's like, 2 days later, it's like, hey, you think, yeah, maybe if we just change this, we could put Alcantara in here. Or maybe we put leather over here. And maybe we change the carpet to this. And it's like they think the price stays the same. And it doesn't. And then you're like, okay, well, and then they act all shocked when you give them the bill and it's twice as much. Like, holy shit, you told me it was going to be this much. You're like, yeah, but you swapped all the material. They think the materials cost the same.
Yeah,
The bait and switch guy, and like on that note, you know, it's like I want a stock style interior, and you're like, okay, you're thinking to yourself, okay, so like stock seats kind of thing, you know, we'll do some nice materials, put a nice stitch on it, make it look a little bit better, but this is all based on stock fitted foam
Patterns,
you know,
foam.
and all of this kind of stuff. And they're like, oh, well, you know, can we just change the foam shape just a little tiny bit right here, or, you know, do this here? And you're like, well, that changes a lot of things by doing that.
No longer stock style.
So like
Not stock style.
yeah,
And then the foam is so crazy expensive. Everyone thinks foam is free.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because foam is expensive.
yeah, actually though,
Like, it's really expensive.
deceivingly expensive.
Wow.
Especially the stuff that you're going to like, all those really nice, crisp, hard looking, like really nicely shaped seats. That foam is probably $600.
Oh my God.
Like, it's crazy.
That's
And then you got
insane.
hours and hours of shaping to do to get it perfect. And it's like, yeah, it's stock style.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so
Bait
going
and
back
switch.
to this, like even like the don't know guy, after you do, you've been able to, you said you've been able to mitigate some of that by using renders and, but after you've done the work for this guy and he's still like, oh, this is not what I said I wanted. Like, who eats the cost there?
Yeah. We don't eat it anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
Well-
that's one of those things. Like, I get all these other shops asking me. It's like there was a time that we would eat it.
Yeah.
And then by the end, you had nothing. Now I don't eat it. Like, we did what you asked. You can pay for that, and then we'll do something else for you. And 90% of the time, what you did is good enough. Like, you know what, I was thinking about it, and you know, that actually looks really good. You're like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Of course.
Yeah, that's
But as long as they
that's,
think it's free, they can just keep throwing wild shit out and keep
yeah.
trying stuff. And it's like, as soon as you start tallying the hours and you feel, I don't feel guilty. There was a time where it's like, I just want to get it right. Like, we just want to get it right for you. You'll never get it right. They'll just keep going and going and going because this is what they're doing.
yeah.
Like, this is their hobby. This is their, you know, there's no end to it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it used to be like when in our earlier years and for like a long time, and that was a really hard thing to navigate. You know, you're trying to make a name for yourself. You're trying to push yourself into new skills and do all these things. And you'll get these customers that come in and they won't really know what they want, but they'll probably say, "Oh, I really like your style," or whatever. But
then
can you do something?
it.
Actually, this actually lends itself into a different sort of guy. So I'm not going to dig too into that.
Yeah, so
but
you'll
like,
eat it because you'll feel guilty, like, oh, maybe I didn't explain what I was going to do properly.
Right.
But no, I did. You just didn't listen.
Yeah. So we've had to like learn how to recognize those people, and like, you know, it's really difficult to know exactly what you want. Like, you know, a lot of people don't really they don't know. So you have to spend a bunch of time, and like, unfortunately, that time comes from somewhere. And that's the hard thing to navigate, is like, you need to like recognize, like, okay, does this person, are they basically gonna compensate for time spent? Most people probably don't realize
That's where it
that
gets
comes at a
frustrating.
cost.
Yeah.
Because they don't
You know?
realize how much of your time they're consuming, and they're paying for your time. So if they spend 4 hours with you yakking away, changing their mind, doing all this goofy shit, and you bill them for that, there's holy, that's the end of that
huge,
relationship.
yeah.
Right, and that sets the tone right away, right? And we talk about this a lot more often nowadays, about like setting boundaries, you know, with your customers and just people in general, like people relations. Setting boundaries, like this is the line, don't cross it, and you know, you move forward. Anyways,
Next customer.
Next guy.
next
Ready?
guy.
Okay. The next guy is the everything is easy guy.
Oh, this one hits pretty hard from like way back in the day.
We got actually a standout situation that I put a guy in, because it is funny, because he felt as though it was the most he had ever felt disrespected in his entire life.
Oh, wow.
But the situation originated in him having disrespected Rob. So he came in, and then same sort of situation. I think we were building the oil bag for a Harley. So it's a pretty small piece, but it has a lot of things in it: ports, lines going in and out, pickup tubes, battery box, all this kind of stuff. So physically, it's not a very big piece, but it's a lot of work.
It's complicated.
It's got a lot of stuff in it. It's got to hit a bunch of different points. Anyways, he wanted to change it. And I was like, well, we already made this thing. Like, you know, we got a lot of hours into this. He's like, well, it should be easy. And I was like, easy? He's like, yeah, it's not hard. Like, it's just a small thing. It should be easy.
No.
I was like, okay, cool. No problem. So I got him a piece of sheet metal and a grinder, and I got him all the tools he needed. And I put it on a table, like basically this size. And then I was like, there you go. Go
Do
to
it.
it. Should be easy.
Wow.
And then that was after me and Rob had our little chat. And then he's like, can I talk to you outside? I was like, sure you can. This guy, whoa. So we go outside, and he's like, I just wanted to talk to you for a minute because fucking Rob, he's like, I've never felt so fucking disrespected in my whole life. I was like, disrespected? How are you disrespected? You're the one disrespecting this guy's time and effort.
Just discount
thinking it's
everything.
all of his ability, all of it, and it should be easy. If it's fucking easy, go do it.
Yeah.
And then that was it. He stomped off. But
Yeah, that was and that was in our early years, right? Like that was when we were learning how to like communicate, like with visuals, like how can we get the point across? Like, this is what we're gonna build. This is what you're asking for. Is this what you're asking for? We'll do that, and we'll move forward on it. And like, you ask for something like that, like this oil bag, you know, like Tim said, it's a very complex little piece. It'd take like 3 solid days to make something like that. You're getting pretty invested in a small piece. And like, to make any kind of changes to it, you know, aesthetically or in any way, is not a small task. It's like a big deal, and it's not an easy thing.
So, and generally, it's easy for us. May not be easy for you.
No.
So, like, to come in and lead with, I want to make a couple changes, but don't worry, it's going to be easy. It's like,
Yeah. Well,
I'll tell you if it's going to be easy or not.
I think that's the big disconnect, is like, you know, we've been at this now for a long time, and we still have a lot to learn. And there are things that we do that we're pretty proficient at, and we'll make it look really simple. I mean, you're you're learning, you're in the sort of like the entry phase of learning how to do all this stuff too. When we do things and you're
like,
watching, you're probably like, it doesn't look that hard. And honestly, it's usually really not that hard, but
if you know
it's taking us, like a decade or a lifetime of experience to sort of know the ins and outs on how to approach a project like that. Mm-hmm. It may look easy, and it kind of is easy, but to us it is.
Yeah.
Maybe not to anybody else.
Because you've acquired so much experience from over the years of doing all this stuff. And it parallels to, in my world too, of like video stuff too.
Right.
It's like, some people just think you just throw together your film, you just edit, and that's it. But there's so many things. And I think in general, it parallels so many parts of life, I think, because...
But it parallels pretty much everything, but in the automotive space, for some reason, people don't make the same association.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people... No, it happens all the time. Like people do it for everything. It's like poor Alex. It's like, I should just design stuff. Why? You think it's cool sitting in a chair all day trying to puzzle this thing out? No, it's not. It's fucking hard.
Yeah,
it's complicated. There's a lot of things you got to hit. You want to edit a video? I could open your video software and I'd stand for an hour. Like, I don't know what any of that shit does. So I'd be, for me to come in and be like, I just do it myself. This shit is easy. No, it would take me all day just to figure out how to start.
And for car stuff too, for everything is one-off. It's all custom. It's not like you're just banging out the same thing.
You don't really have a reference
over
point.
and
so
over.
Like things can get repetitive. And you can get faster and more efficient. But anytime you're doing the first of anything, it takes time. Mm-hmm. And if we have all the foundation, then the first time that we do it, we can legitimately charge for it because we have all the tools, all the foundation, and all the ability. So I'm pretty confident that nobody else is going to be able to do the same thing faster than me. They might be able to do it faster than me after watching me have done it the first time, but if they started from the same place as me, I don't think they're going to get there any faster.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's easy to copy. It's easy to emulate different shit and see, I see how you did that. I could do that better and faster, but to do it from the
scratch
jump is tough.
very difficult.
Mm-hmm. It's difficult.
Yeah. Next.
So fuck that guy.
It's easy, go do it yourself. What do you need me for?
Yeah, why are you even here if it's so easy? Why aren't you doing it yourself? Let's see. The next one is the money is no object guy. What you usually find out is money is object.
Yeah.
So that one's fairly when they come in and they're all hot and heavy, and it's like they know what this stuff costs because they go out and it's like cars are $1 million now, $1 million plus some of these cars. They're like, yeah, I'm ready, fucking don't worry about, let's get the best of everything. And then it starts building and tallying up, and then it's like, oh shit. And those are usually the same guys that don't like paying for labor. Those are generally the same guys. They love buying stuff.
Oh,
like tangible. Like they'll buy the craziest motor, the craziest wheels. They'll buy whatever, like whatever they're charging. They don't even care. They just need to have it. You can even tell them we can't get it unless you pay extra, and they're like, I don't care, I want it. And then you do a bunch of labor, and they're like, really, that much for that? And you're like, really, you'll pay $15,000 for a set of wheels, but you won't pay me $5,000 for a week's worth of work? All day, every day? Like,
yeah, I feel like a lot of people discount labor in the whole thing. I feel like I appreciate it now, the labor part, because when I started, I'm still new in cars, but when I started getting into, I'm just like, you just buy the parts and that's it. Like,
that's the easy part.
Who's gonna install them?
You just toss it on, right?
Yeah, who's gonna make them fit, especially if it's a custom part? Like, it's easy to be like you always say, like $10,000 finger.
Oh yeah,
or something. You just point.
Just point. Yeah. The point shoot. It's like $1,000 point every time you point.
Well, it's like all you got to do is clearance that. All you got to do is make a new one of those. All you got to do, and it's like by the time you add up all you got to do is, and it's like a $10,000 day.
But it should be easy, right?
It should be easy. It's easy for you. Like, no problem.
Yeah, that's so true. That person is the same person that thinks it's easy, and that's usually why they probably are having a hard time paying for the labor.
Is like all the expense. But the disconnect that I don't understand is like, okay, you've bought all the crazy parts. You've listened to these things, like Autotopia does a great job of putting time and expense to things, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't know where in their head, when they hear that this car costs $500,000, and then they go out and buy all the parts, and it's $180,000. Like, do they honestly believe they slipped through the cracks somehow? It's like, oh shit, I'm going to build a $500,000 car for 160.
What about the labor?
Yeah, like the labor part they never consider, and paint and body and all these things. They think that once they buy the parts, like they're home free now. Like, oh shit, we should be able to wrap this up for $200,000.
Oh, and that's so ridiculous too, because even if they did do that and they were like a DIYer, looking, there's still 160 G's in on parts, and then they got to do all the actual labor and material costs. You know, so it's, yeah, dude.
So we have a couple cars in the shop where guys tried to save money, and see how that
you're
worked out.
allowed it. Yeah.
Did they save anything? Not
No.
a damn thing.
Yeah.
Okay, another quick one is pop-in guy.
The pop-in guy.
Pop-in guy.
We got a few of those guys right now.
Want to pop in and I just wanted to pop in quick and check on things.
Yeah.
So generally, my biggest problem with pop-in guy is like I don't mind the pop-in if you're respectful about the pop-in. But we have some guys that pop in so fucking much that if we had combined all the hours consumed by their pop-ins, the job would already be done. Like, seriously. And I literally had to point it out to customers, like, if you would stop fucking interrupting me, I would already be finished. Because it's an hour every single time.
Yeah.
So, pop-in guy, don't be popping in. Pop in once in a while, say hi. Like, I want to, when you pop in, I want to be excited to see you. Because I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. Not like, oh, fuck, here he is again. You'll be here for another hour.
Yeah, like when we get into a project that's like a big project, and we get a customer that pops in, you know, every couple weeks, maybe every month. If it's a long project like our Skylark project, it's a big build, right? So when our customer pops in, I'm like stoked. I'm like, dude,
get the catch.
Sweet, let's get caught up on where we're at, man. Check it out.
But if you pop in every day,
yeah, that's not good.
And then if you're not working on their car on that particular day, then they get all sad and sassy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you be. No, man, we got 14 cars to build.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Hypochondriac guy.
What is that word? I didn't even.
It seemed like, okay, hypochondriac guy is generally pop-in guy. Like, they're almost the same guy. Because hypochondriac guy is the guy that just wants to pop in because he thought he heard something and wants you to have a look at it.
Oh, heard something in his car?
Yeah, in his car. Like, you finished his car, you sent him home, everything is fine, but he has to pop in all the time because he thought he heard something and was like, oh, you know, the other morning, it's okay, I just had this. I'm pretty sure this guy does not listen to the podcast because he probably doesn't even have internet. So this guy gets in his car, fires it up. We put fuel injection in his car. He's like, I got in my car, tried to drive down the street, and the thing was popping and snorting and making all kinds of noise. I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah. And then I drove to where I was driving, and when I got there, never did it again. It was perfect. It was perfect the whole rest of the time.
Awesome.
I was like, okay. How long did you warm up your car before you drove your car? I don't remember. No, I just got in and drove. I was like, okay. And this is like one of these aftermarket fuel injection systems. It's like a Sniper EFI or something. So you basically have to let it warm up enough till the O2 gets some heat. Yeah. The thing, then the computer takes over, then it runs like $1 million. This guy just hits the key, heads down the street, and things popping, snorting, making all. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll try that again tomorrow. So it's that guy. But that guy, everything. Like, he'll report to me, like, my car got up to 198 the other day. What do you think? Like, buddy, it's 36 degrees outside. Like, that seems not that bad to me.
Yeah.
But he's got to check in with everything. Hey, is there a better Sirius satellite radio antenna we can get? Because I went through the tunnel and my radio cut out.
You went through a tunnel, of course.
I'm not even joking.
No, but that's a real thing.
Things, man.
You're like, man, come on.
Yeah.
He's so disconnected.
Yeah. So pop-in guy generally shares a lot with hypochondriac guy.
Yeah, it's so true.
Okay, we're making good time on the list here. Cheap parts guy.
Oh yeah, so we had a customer from back in the day.
Yes,
that falls into the cheap parts kind of guy.
So before we dive into that customer, how do you guys usually handle parts? Do you let the customer bring all of their parts themselves, or do you guys buy them? And then
some projects come. Like, we have some projects that have come from other shops that are in bad situations, so a lot of the parts may have already been purchased. So we'll work with what's there, and sometimes we'll switch some stuff out based on how we know said parts perform. But generally like to buy our own parts. to make sure everything's right. But cheap parts guy, well, how do we explain it? Rob can tell you the story about cheap part guy because it falls into his biggest thing was if it looked the same as an expensive part. So he wanted to buy Chinese knockoff parts because they looked like good parts. And you're like, well, that's kind of the whole point behind a knockoff. If it doesn't look like what it's supposed to, nobody will buy it.
Yeah.
But he just couldn't wrap his head around. So it was like, I don't know, whatever the thing was for his particular instance, it was like, you know, this is in the bike building days where a really good starter, like one that we know performed well, would never give you problems, didn't leave you stranded, didn't use a massive amount of battery power, was like $600. He wanted to buy one that looked like it for like $79.
Oh.
And you're like, buddy, it's not the same. Like, he's like, well, it looks the same. You're like, well, of course it looks the same. That's the point.
So this particular client came to us as kind of like a referral from another client that we'd had with, you know, and built a bike with great success. He was a really good customer. Treated us well. We treated him well. We built him something great. But he referred a friend of his that he just kind of knew as an acquaintance to us that wanted to build like a full custom chopper, but he bought all of his own parts on eBay. Okay, I mean, you know, that's what you do sometimes, right? It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but this particular guy was like parts shopping for like the least expensive options in every way. And of course, I mean,
not even a deal, like the absolute cheapest part he could get.
It's admirable. Try to save money if you can, but like in that world, I mean, like Tim was saying, like a $600 part's not the same as like a $79 part, even though they might look the same. And that was deceiving. But we had a whole bike of parts that he supplied to us that he'd gotten, and we got into the process of building this bike, and it was
nothing worked together.
None of it worked together. And most custom stuff is kind of like that. Like you buy even if it's a really high end part, like you'll notice this, like we notice it. You'll buy a really high end part. I'm just going to do a slight tangent here. And it's like really expensive, very, very high, and it's the best of the best. It might not interact perfectly with the other, you know, another part that's the best of the best. You might have to do some things to make them play together, right? And that's just a thing. And it's even kind of, it's the same with the cheap parts, but sometimes the cheap parts are just even worse.
When you have the expensive part, it justifies a certain amount of labor.
Yes.
When you have the cheap part, your labor almost immediately is more than what the part was. So you're like, this is not going to make sense. Go buy the proper part. Like, you're going to pay me 3 hours to try to make this part work, and it still may not be great, or you can just go buy the proper thing. But this guy was even worse because we ended up having to cut him off because his thing is like, we'd be like, this doesn't work. This is the wrong part. He would have to post it on eBay, sell it before he would replace it with something else. So everything was like a 6-week roadblock. So finally we're just like, buddy, we're just finished. I'm ordering all the shit we need to finish this thing. We're going to get it done and we're going to get it out of here.
Yeah, because that one, that
guy still
that cheap parts, eBay, you know, supplied parts guy, that project got so long in the tooth. We just got sick of like that nuisance of it. Like, this is a fucking pain in the ass. When you're building something, you're trying to, like, you know, you get, if you're lucky enough to get some momentum on a project, that's when great things happen.
That's insane.
You know what I mean?
Wait for him to sell the parts on eBay.
This guy, I'm not
so
even
it
joking.
happened all the time, and you're like, buddy, I can't make any progress on this project because like every single step forward we take, we got to take at least a half a step back and wait.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is bullshit.
Wild.
So Tim just finally got fucking fed up. We're like, we need to get this thing
We're
done.
just going to finish it and you're going to pay us whatever it costs.
Because this,
or get
and
the
so,
fuck out of here.
So this particular client was also the pop-in guy too.
Super pop-in guy.
Super pop-in guy. And like, you know, charismatic dude.
But he didn't just pop in on himself. We were the cool guys.
Oh, yeah.
At that time, we were winning all these shows and we were the super cool chopper guys. So he would pop in with friends.
Yeah, man.
Like, he'd bring groups of people. He'd bring whatever girl he's dating. Like, pop in and be there for hours. And then he would pop in one time when I was doing my own bike. He's this guy that wanted to pop in and like thinks he should be running things. I'm gonna help you clean up the fucking shop, blah blah blah. He cleaned up the shop so good he put all my parts in the garbage. We had to go through like what 6 or 8 bags of garbage to find all my parts. Because at that time you'd send stuff out for powder coat and chroming and they'd wrap it in newspaper and all this type of shit. He just put all of the newspaper like that weighs 3 pounds in the garbage. Like,
I didn't stop to question. I'm like, wait, why is this so heavy?
why is this piece of newspaper so heavy? But that guy still, like, within the last 4 days, I can show you, hit me up and is like, hey, how do I do this? Do I need to put this spring back in when I do this? Is it necessary? You're like, well, they generally don't put springs in things if they don't need them. And I just ignored them. Like, fuck you, man. You pay me. This is what I do for a living.
Yeah.
I don't call you up asking, walk you through your project at 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. Also,
So again,
it's been
guy.
over a decade or more
Yeah, since we finished
this,
bike like
this
12
cheap
years
parts
ago.
bike.
And
And it's still got lifetime warranty.
Yeah, like come on, no, you're
Yeah,
done.
lifetime warranty guy is he's another guy. I'm gonna put him on the list.
Yeah.
there's a part, one of the things, I don't know if that might be on the list or not, but like for customers that call you after hours, is that on the list?
Okay, the after hours guy.
No.
I'm pretty good about that. Doesn't really happen. to
Oh,
me.
okay,
I have
okay.
It
one or
did-
two
it did
people-
for a
It
long
did to the
time.
point that I had to change my phone number.
Yeah. No, honestly though,
People would message me 11 o'clock at night because they have hey, I got an idea. You're like, fuck you and your stupid idea.
yeah,
So who's up? Oh, the order my own parts guy because he thinks he's gonna save money. It
Yeah.
usually almost always doesn't work. Like if you want to order whatever big ticket items, but the little knick-knacky stuff, it just takes forever. It will delay a project. You're probably going to order the wrong shit, and it just is super frustrating. Because in reality, the margins in parts now is so small that you're not really saving anything.
No.
You're not saving any. You're just creating more time and problems. So.
yeah. Yeah, parts is like one of those kind of things that you don't really make a lot of money on. In our business, we've never done parts for retail in our shop.
It's so time consuming.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to talk somebody into something, and by the time you're done, you make $40, but it takes you an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
not
make
worth
sense.
it.
Yeah, no, we just always order what we need for when we need it. You know, when we're building a project, that's it.
Okay, who's next?
Who's next?
Who's next? Money transfer guy. This gets into the how you get paid by your clients, and this is another guy that's like you're always waiting because he's like, oh, I got some money coming to you, and then I'll get it to you guys.
Oh no.
So it's like always.
It's always dependent on someone or someone else.
But at the same time, that guy's at the lake on his boat all weekend, or he's going on vacation, or he's doing something, but he won't give you any money till he gets money from somebody else because he doesn't want to see his bank balance dip in any way. So it's like, and it's like, that guy
crazy.
sucks too.
Yeah.
Here's a funny one because I just called out this old dude, like he's probably in his 70s, and he's okay. This old guy, this is like a very recent thing. Is he's a pop-in guy. They don't have a lot to do, so they want to come by and chat. It's a cool place to be. Like we go out of our way to try to make it cool. So they want to pop in. They want to chat about your project. This guy's been here 8 different times, so I'm finally fed up with this guy because he comes in and can dig it this, can dig it that, and it's like I want to 3D scan this, and you're like, okay, it's going to be $3,500. Holy! And it's like he thinks you just 3D scan it and it like creates the part like it's Star Trek or something.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's like no, man, you're just
Discount all the work that
yeah,
goes into
like
making
you're
it.
just taking a picture of it,
Yeah.
and then you got all this processing, and then you still got to make the part. So this particular guy, he's like in his 70s. He's downstairs talking to Greg, and I'm over here listening to this conversation. And then ultimately, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, cool. I got to talk to my wife.
So that leads into the talk to my wife guy.
Yeah, talk to my wife guy. It's like, why are you even here? You should have talked to your wife before you left the house. And we've actually had instances where we've invoiced people, and then they come back and have to talk about their invoice because their wife saw it. And then somehow, some way, I have no idea, their wife processed the bill based on zero information and has decided that it's too high.
What?
Or it's more than maybe what he had told her he was going to spend, and she wants it reduced to that amount.
But you've already done all the work for the project.
Yeah.
How do you want it to be reduced? Oh my gosh.
So-
and there's nothing wrong about talking to the wife, but probably before
Yeah.
You go out.
Yeah, maybe it'd be a little bit more transparent in your project plan.
Yeah.
No, anyway, so I was cracking his nuts. And I was like, really? You're 75 years old? You still got to clear this shit with your wife? And he's like, oh, wow, man, you sound like a real man's man. And I was like, yeah, well, there's still time for you. Like, go home and lay it down today.
Yeah.
Like, you can't take this shit with you. Just spend it. Just get what you want and enjoy it.
Some people might disagree with that financial
Your kids
advice.
are just going to piss it away anyways.
Hey,
Some people are going to disagree with that advice.
we never claimed to be financial advisors. Okay? Let's get that straight.
Yeah. Oh, my so
Okay,
funny.
who's next? Oh, social media guy.
Okay.
Social media
We've talked
guy.
about social media guy
What
before.
social
So
media
this is
guy?
something that we deal with a lot more
Yeah,
often
'cause we
in the
put
last several years.
Yeah, we put a decent amount of value and effort into our social media. So we generally highlight what gets us the most amount of feedback or interest. So there is some projects in the shop that are just not that interesting
No.
to anybody.
No.
Like not even to me.
Regardless if we think it's interesting or not,
Yeah.
if we were to post some things up, I mean, you're in charge of
Yeah.
socials. You see
We
it
don't
all the
get
time.
it.
You're like, this is getting no love.
Yeah.
Zero love.
Okay, well, maybe we won't post that one anymore.
So those particular guys get butthurt
Yeah.
because we don't post their car.
It means you're not working on
and
it.
it means
Yeah.
you're not working on
Yeah.
it. So it's like some weird connection now that is like, yeah. And you're like, oh, when are you going to work on my car? You're like, what do you mean? It's almost done. Well, I haven't seen it on social media because nobody cares.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, it's funny how that
So I'm
kind
sorry, but
that association is so funny now. Like,
Yeah, it is
you know,
interesting.
yeah, because you're not into my project.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no,
But it's not the case.
people in general just aren't into your project.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry, but some shit's just not that interesting. Like putting AC in your 69 Thunderbird is not interesting to anybody.
Yeah.
It's not even interesting to me. I have bills to pay.
just have to do
so
it.
I'm going to do it. That's it.
Oh no.
So I'm sorry.
yeah.
Not that we're talking of any Thunderbirds. This is just
That's
hypothetical.
real.
the
That's
Thunderbird
real
guy-
life. It is what it is.
I'm
Nobody
sorry.
really wants to see that.
He just wants his car back. But no, there is some social media guys I get. I think some people bring shit just so they can be on our social media.
Well, you got hit up not too long ago because we were just talking about this. About some people that want the whole social media experience
Yeah, they want the
in
whole
their
experience.
in their
Really?
build project.
That's like a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing now.
Oh.
Apparently, I
Like,
guess
tag me in it.
some people might think we're a big deal. I don't know.
Some people think we suck too. So.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, who's the next guy? This is getting more into customers that have a tough time paying for stuff. So this guy is the holdback guy, the guy that thinks that if he holds back payment, somehow that's going to motivate you to work more on his car. We actually have the opposite problem here.
Yeah.
Because we can only do so much so fast that I have the opposite customer like, hey, can I give you some money? Like,
You're like, no.
Nope. I don't want any money until I work on your car, because if I take your money, that gives you this weird thing
Yeah.
that you think
I gave you money and
I
you
gave you
haven't
like
done
you're
anything.
entitled to more work, or your expectations start getting out of whack. So you might not be happy with how fast your project is progressing, but you never got to be worried about me having more of your money than I deserve.
Yeah, we're most definitely not in
Like,
a place of
I'm-
trying to rip anybody off.
Yeah. So how many times have you? Oh, can I give you some more money? You're like, nope.
No.
Nope.
So just to iterate, or you bill after you've done the work.
Yes.
Only.
We generally try to bill every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, and now we have like a hard rule that if I bill you on Friday, you need to pay like right away. Because if I got to chase you for a week, then I just take your project off the list. And then we have to come back around to it. Because we got bills, we got overhead. You can't behave that way in anything else you do. Go grocery store and tell them you're going to pay them next week. Call your plumber
Right,
to your house
yeah.
and tell them you're going to pay them next week.
Yeah.
You're not going to get anything done anywhere, but for some reason in the automotive world and in this space, dudes think they can do that.
Yeah,
and
that's
you
weird.
can't. It's just not a thing. Like,
Yeah.
you can't do it anywhere. Give me one example that you can do it.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
curious.
I mean, unless you're taking like credit, like actually.
Yeah, but we didn't discuss credit.
No,
I didn't do
no.
a credit check on you. I didn't offer you terms. I didn't nothing. When I'm done the work, you pay for the work.
True.
Yeah.
That's
and it
it.
works better for us that way. Because then like we're basing everything that we do on the merit of what we've done.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like we earned this
Yeah,
and
pay me.
therefore you need to pay.
So every 2 weeks, like within a 2 week period, then it keeps it honest too, because not every car within a 2 week period can we work on.
Yep.
So 1 2 week period, you might owe us $1,000, and the next one you might owe us $12,000.
Right.
So it's like, that's how you keep the project honest and keep yourself out of trouble. Because if you start taking more money than what you need, it's easy to spend it. Like I can spend money. Like
Yeah, you hear about it so much.
Yeah, I feel like we all have that.
yeah, like it's
yeah.
like, and if you forget and you start like, hey man, I got quite a bit of money kicking around,
Oh.
and then the guy's like, that's why I had that money. Like, no.
Yeah, and we've
So,
talked about some shops also getting into trouble with that of like
Chasing
taking money,
deposits and
taking money before they've done the work, and
yeah.
then getting
Whole-
upside down and using one project to pay for another, and it's a whole cycle.
super
It's-
hard. Like
it's a hard
it is
cycle
super
to-
common, and like you can't always avoid it. Like it's impossible because there's all kinds of challenges. Like things get held
Yeah,
up, but
yeah.
you're no matter if things fall behind, their employees are off sick or any of these things, and it's like the overhead doesn't stop though.
No,
It
you
still
still have
keeps
the constant
consuming
bills.
it.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
there's always sometimes it happens. Like there's nothing you can do about it, and it happens in every industry. Like you build houses, sometimes you gotta get into the next one to pay for the last one, but it's the easy thing to get really out of whack, and then next thing you know, you have no money to do anything, and then you're fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you just have to recognize that that's a thing, and it is a circle to try to avoid.
So, as a customer, I think that if you see this and there's still a decent amount of work that needs to be done, that's a lot of guys want to chase it and create problems when that's where they hold back. I think that's when the conversation needs to be had. Some honesty needs to be exchanged, and you can give your guy, if you see that problem, instead of trying to call him out because of that problem, maybe throw the guy a fucking lifeline and help him resolve the problem.
Yeah.
Instead of these guys that just want to like call, they want to
Constantly.
catch you like, and then that's what, how many shop, like we have 2 cars in another shop that literally got caught in that cycle, and then they got caught in that situation, and now they're probably out of business. But they had opportunity to correct,
Make up
and they
for all of
didn't.
this,
So
yeah.
it's like, if instead of trying to catch the guy, well, like, what's that going to do for you? That's going to screw your project. It's going to screw everything. And the guy probably didn't even do it intentionally. So, anyways,
Yeah.
hold back, guy. You're part of the problem. Okay, who's next? It's funny that so many of these topics are like, there's one guy in particular that he's like 9 of these guys.
Oh, no.
So the next guy is TV show guy.
yeah.
So everybody's met TV show guy. Everything they do is related to TV shows. They'll watch TV shows all weekend and then come in all hot on Monday with a new batch of ideas, a new everything. Like, I watched this guy and I watched this guy, and did you see this guy? And you're like, oh my God. You realize that car took 4 years to build and cost $1.2 million, right? And they never make that
Yeah,
association.
discount all of that.
They'll
Yeah.
pick up the tiniest little thing in the whole project and the description, but completely
Ignore.
miss the cost and the time.
Yeah.
And then me, I'm like super nerdy about watching those shows. So like I'll see a car that they're finishing, but I'll remember that car from season 2. It's like, I saw that car in the back of season 2.
Yeah.
And we're at season 7 now.
Yeah, and they're still working on it.
It's like
Or finishing it
took
now.
them 5 years to finish
Yeah,
that
yeah,
car.
yeah.
But nobody else seems to pick up on that.
Yeah, that TV show guy's kind of like in today's time almost a version of social media guy now too, because people get so charged up seeing all this, this stuff on social media. Then they'll come in and be like, "Oh, do you see this? You see this? This guy and that guy and this guy."
Can we do something like this on my car?
Yeah.
And that's reference photo guy. So he'll take all these guys and come and try to put it all in one car, and you're like, that's going to look like the Homer Simpson car. if we do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I find myself often like looking at like different sort of social media reference videos and pics and things, because we see all these crazy renderings and stuff all the time now.
Yeah,
You know?
and then
and finished cars too, but like a lot of renderings, and they're just so wild and so like it's amazing.
and
Actually,
it's unattainable. But these guys are the guys that'll listen. Like you could have the guys stand square in the middle of the screen and be like, "This car took 7,000 hours to build," and then they'll come to the shop and think you could do it. It's took 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, these guys like, it's so frustrating. But anyways,
so each and every one of these guys that we've listed today, you know, we've had to like learn so much from each and every one of them, how to recognize, how to interact, and sort of how to navigate our way through that. And you know, we're 20 some odd years now, 20, well, not quite officially 20 years, but we've been doing this even longer than that. So it's taken that long to sort of like get to a place where we're at now, where we can see this stuff coming. And you're like, I see.
I'm going to jump to the end guy because this is throwing it all the way back to the beginning that we used to hear it a lot.
The end guy?
The last guy on my list.
Okay.
Should have been like, he's in the top 5 at the beginning of this conversation. And before we go to the very last guy, because now we've built a reputation and we have a style, so the last guy, we'll save that for last.
Okay.
We only just came up with it, we sat down. So, show circuit guy.
The show circuit guy.
Show circuit guy.
This is kind of like an ongoing sort of inside joke that we have between us.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Because we get a lot of these dudes that come to us with wild ideas, and it's like they want you to invest in their vision, and they'll be like, you know, I want to do this is crazy, nobody's ever seen it before, I want to put a whatever stupid motor in this stupid car and put it together and it's going to be crazy, and like, if you guys can just help me out, because you know, once it hits the show circuit, man, you guys are going to be so busy, it's going to be crazy.
Show circuit?
Yeah, once you hit the show circuit, man.
Oh,
yeah,
it's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
So just help me out. And it applied to everything. Like, we used to do a lot of custom painting in the early days, and you would get guys that come in and be like, man, can you just, you know, I want to paint, like custom paint 50 guitars. I'm starting a guitar business. It's going to be sick. I want to do 50 of them. So if you can just give me a deal on this first one, then, you know, I'll bring you 50 more to paint. You're like, cool.
So you're doing it for exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we learned really quickly. So I would always reverse it on them. Be like, how about this? How about we paint the 50 guitars and then I do yours for free?
Whoa.
That's even better deal,
That's
right?
a sick
That's
deal.
crazy.
Yeah.
They never ever came back.
But man, dude, once we hit that show circuit.
Yeah, like, well, you know, once we get this one out there,
so like,
you guys are going to be so busy.
see,
It's
we don't
crazy.
even know, because we never
never
did
did
hit
it.
the show circuit like that. We don't know.
So
We could have been fucking
we could've
huge
been
right now.
huge.
Yeah, I feel like that
So
is-
much missed opportunity.
I relate to that too, just because it's like people want you to do same thing with video. People want you to make these crazy music videos and all this for them, and they're like, "Yo, when this video blows up, you're gonna get so much business.
Yeah.
You're gonna be huge. It's
Yeah.
gonna be that." And it's like they want you to pay for, or they want to
invest in
exposure.
their dream.
Exactly. I'm like, what about my dream?
Yeah.
I got dreams too, man.
Yeah.
Dreams. Yeah, and so I feel like even today it's very prevalent with a lot of like YouTube personalities or influencers wanting free stuff.
Yeah, free stuff, free everything, and
Yeah.
it comes down to everything. Like, I think we were just talking about, like, even photographers. Like, hey, can you guys bring these cars out here? I want to shoot them. I'll shoot them for free. You're like, it's not free for me.
Yeah, what about all the time?
Yeah.
I gotta gather up $1.5 million worth of cars, drive them out, and you, of course, they always want to go location hopping because they want to roll around in your car all day. And we're gonna go bounce to 18 different locations, spend an entire day doing this, and I don't even know who you are. Like, what's gonna come of the pictures? Like, I can appreciate your enthusiasm in wanting to build a portfolio, but this cost me real money.
Yeah.
Cost me gas, cost me time, cost me
A
exposure
lot of
to,
things.
like, oh, can you just drive it into here
Insurance.
on these train tracks? You're like, what? No. Like, look at this. No, I'm not doing that. Like, it's, yeah, those guys suck too.
Yeah. But that's a real thing. And like, there's a point in time when you actually have to consider some of these
Some of them
potential
are worth
things.
it.
Sometimes you do,
yeah.
right?
And some guys
especially when you're on your come up.
Yeah, and you weigh
Like you're like, I need to do
But
this.
the way
I
you
need that
approach the
exposure.
situation is very, like I've helped out lots of young
Sure.
photographer guys because some of them just the way they approach it, you're like, you know what, man? Yeah, let's go do it. It'll be fun. But then you get these other guys. It's like no, like just even the way you started this conversation.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
almost like entitled.
Yeah, entitled, and it's like I don't know. And then if you approach me with your Instagram number, you're out.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in that shit. Anyways, okay, next guy. This is, I don't know if we've experienced that much of it. No, but still a little bit. So this is the I like your style, but can we do it my way?
So this is a thing that we got like when we first started getting a lot more media attention, especially back in like the chopper days. Like that was
I
like
just
a
got
big deal
this hit
thing.
up from a guy in Dubai.
Yeah.
It's like, I fucking love your car, love everything. Like, how much? I was like, it's going to be this much. Okay, can you build me my own? I love everything about it, but can we do a different motor, maybe a less aggressive interior, and maybe we do this, and this? Like, no, I don't want to do that. That sounds boring.
Yeah.
So it's like that guy is like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we used to get that all the time. You know, like I was saying, like when we first started getting a lot more media exposure, people would come to us. You know, they're kind of almost show circuit kind of guys, but like they would be like, "Yo, man, I saw what you did. I love it. It's everything about it. I absolutely love it. Can
we put a ninja sword on the
side? Could you potentially do something like this for me? Like, you know, everything about your style is just beautiful." And and you're like, okay, well, let's start let's dig in on this conversation. Potentially, there's a client here, and you get into it, and they're like, yeah, could we just change this though, and maybe change this and this? And you're like, you basically just took all of the things that sort of
All of my style and just
was my style, my
I want a
flavor,
naked chick on the gas
and
tank,
you
and
changed all of it
What?
to like, I don't like that style that you're describing. I'm not interested in that. You know,
Wow.
Yeah, we used to get that a lot more.
yeah, that's interesting.
And I guess we still do now.
we get a little bit of it.
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
bit, but not the same as it was. But the thing, that at that time it was like very like literally the opposite.
Wow.
Is like we were building is like I just love it. It's so clean. It's so perfect. It's so and then they would want
But can you do this instead?
dumb shit.
Yeah.
Like literally dumb shit. I want a ninja sword for a shifter. I want a picture of my naked wife on the gas tank. And you're like, no, I'm not doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's a
yeah,
real
that was a
situation,
real
but-
thing for a long time. You know,
So then
especially
you
in
have
the
to try
chopper
to.
world.
Sometimes you can dial it back and make it, like incorporate some of their ideas.
yeah.
But some of them, there's just nothing.
Too much, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Sweet.
Things got really wild and just gaudy as shit in the chopper building arena. Like there was a time, probably I don't know what, late 2000s. That's kind of when the chopper thing was like really huge, and like everybody was pushing the envelope to do just the
gosh.
wildest, craziest shit. Like these bikes were like 14 feet long with ninja sword shifters and
battle axes.
they were like, scraping the ground. They were so low, the fattest tires you could possibly imagine. And they were just absolutely unrideable, just basically dynamic artwork.
And now they're all like 10 grand.
Yeah, just
That's
junk.
sad.
But then I get hit up all the time with guys that want to do shit that it doesn't even make sense. Like they're literally creating problems to try to solve them. Mm-hmm. It's like, I want to do this, this, and this. And you're like, why would you do that? Well, because nobody's done it before. Well, there's a reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, well, yeah, I want to be the first guy. You're like, I'm not your guy.
I find that that's more part of our thing now. Is like, no, man, that's dumb.
That's
You don't
dumb.
wanna
I'm
do
not
that.
doing that. Like,
But if you do something like this, then this is something that would be down for.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you
because we
in our
built some crazy
experience
shit,
now,
but it's like we try to make it actually work.
Yeah.
yeah,
Some people just want to build crazy shit for
Just because it looks sick on Instagram.
It's crazy and
YouTube.
but it doesn't work. Like it doesn't, it's stupid. But anyways, and then they want you to like, hey, can you give me your feedback on this? You're like, no, that's what you have to pay for.
Yeah.
And it's like you try to be nice, and it's like, yeah, those, then no. You want me to plan your whole project for you and resolve all your problems for free? No.
I feel like you still do a pretty good job at helping
I
people
try.
out, though.
Like, I'm being very jaded, but
Yeah.
I do respond to a lot of people, and I
you
try.
do.
But some people start pushing their luck, and I'm just like,
Well,
and
I
if
mean,
you'll
it's-
notice, I just stop talking to them. It's like, okay, this is too much. I don't
like,
even
no.
say, like, I don't even break down the rules. I just ghost them.
Yeah.
Well, there's that boundary line,
Yeah.
right? Like,
So if you've been
you
ghosted by
cross
me,
the line.
You know why.
You cross the line,
line.
man. Like I'm a good person.
Yeah.
I help you out, man, because I want to see you live your dreams.
the first one's free. The second one you gotta pay for.
Any more people, or is that it?
I don't know. No, I think
There's
that's it.
there's probably a lot more people.
Yeah.
These
So
are
all these guys that want me to address how to get paid by your customers is, yeah, you just got to set boundaries, recognize these people, see the red flags, and just adjust accordingly.
And if in some cases, like what about, like we've talked about it, but like firing customers or potentially,
Yeah,
if
and
it gets
people
too bad.
endure way too much, man. Like you can't, like these people can. It's directed at the automotive space because you can't behave this way in any other way, and you wouldn't tolerate it in any other way either. So it's like if you have a bad contractor in your house, you fire them and you get somebody else. If you don't gel well with somebody, then don't force it. Just go someplace else. There's lots of shops. There's lots of opportunity. Like, don't create nightmares. And there's bad shops, but there's some bad customers too. With unrealistic expectations, you got to pry money out of them. And even if you tell them, you're like, this thing's going to be 300 grand or 100 grand, and it's like you're at 43,000 and they're starting to tighten up. It's like, okay, that's, we're not even close to where we need to be, and you have no reason for concern, and this is the way you're behaving now, then it's time for you to go. Because we got too much shit to do to be putting up with that. And it's like, if you want to ruin a project, then be that guy, because I'll just go the other way.
Yeah. And
As soon as you suck the fun out of it, that's the end. Your project's going downhill from that point.
I just thought of like this one is more on like a positive side, but it's like the type of customer that you would want. Like, what is you guys' ideal customer? Like, what, just give me the basic.
So basically, like most recent, like now we have a contract. Like, this is what our expectations are, and we'll let them adjust what their expectations are, and then we both sign off on it, and then it basically creates, like, now you're under a contract and what the expectation are. So if you haven't paid me for 2 weeks and you disappeared on vacation and you come back, you're gonna know that I didn't work on your car, because I told you in writing that that's the way it's going to be. So you can't have unrealistic expectations because you went on vacation for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then you come back and you're expecting to have seen a month's worth of work. You're like, no, I told you that if you didn't pay me, I wasn't going to work on your car. And you can't disappear for 3 months and then just pop in and expect your car to be almost done. So like, I keep putting all that stuff up front is huge. And then putting a realistic price tag on it is huge. So if you bring a job in and you tell the guy it's going to be 175 and now it's 225, of course he's going to be pissed at you. And I see it all the time. Like, I literally just had this conversation with a customer. He's like, oh, that seems a little high. I was like, well, that's what I'll do it for. He's like, okay, well, do you have any room in that at all? I'm like, no.
It is what it is.
That's why I've determined that's what it's going to take for me to do your car properly to the reference photos that you gave me. And no, there's no room in that. And then it's like, okay, basically he was testing me. So he's like, oh, do you play poker? I'm like, no, why? He's like, well, you should. Because I was just seeing that if you were trying to buy a job or if this was the real price. I was like, no, that's the real price. Plus or minus probably 10%, but that's the real price.
Yeah.
Because look what trying to get a deal did for you before. Wasn't much of a fucking deal, was it? So now it's cost you twice as much for me to rectify those problems, which you're super appreciative of, and this is why you're giving me another opportunity. So I'm going to be honest with you again of what it costs, and things are going to go smooth. You bring me the money when I need it, and I will make sure that your job gets done.
Yeah.
But if you start holding back, I'm going to start holding back. Like, you give what you get, what you give.
Yeah.
So these guys that try to start playing games, manipulating things, and not staying on what you laid out in your plan and your project, and you start doing wild shit, that time and money comes from someplace.
Yeah.
So, and that's what makes this stuff go sideways. It's just as much the customer's fault as it is the shop's fault. Like, you can't just all blame it on the shop. Because if you're in just waving your finger around and having unrealistic expectations, nobody could meet that.
No. Yeah, even if the customer was like okay with paying more money, that's only a part of the equation. Well, there's also the timeline of it too. And how that one particular project, it has an impact on every other project that you have to do too.
Yeah.
So
You can't just do one project at a time. So even if you have all the money, you're like, I don't give a fuck, I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, I still have other people that I have made agreements with, and I have to service all those people. Plus, you need to recognize when I tell you that I've had challenges or delays, and you have to accept that. But some of them don't. Like, they just, and then that's when shit gets negative.
Yeah.
So the ideal customer is probably somebody that's done it before, understands the process, understands that it is a process, and there is going to be challenges, there is going to be delays, there is going to be things. But generally, most of the people that come in now is because we've done it quite a bit. So we don't really get many first timers anymore. But it's generally the first timers that have the problems.
Yeah.
And then they get buyer's remorse, and they spent more than they anticipated. And, the common thing is like, blah, 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 the budget should be whatever they tell you the budget is, double it. No, you can't apply that to anything else. So that's bullshit. Like, that's some hot rod horse shit that's like you see in forums and all that kind of stuff. That's not the way it should be. Because you can't do that
that's
no
just
other
fucking
industry.
straight up bad business.
That's bad business.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because you know what the parts cost, and you should have somewhat of an idea. Like, when you're getting crazy custom with like some of the stuff that we're doing,
The time is
the time is the time. And I won't quote them. People like, oh, can you give me an idea? I'm like, no.
You don't. You
I
haven't done it before.
I've never done it before.
Yeah, no reference.
So like, I can give you kind of an idea and get maybe close, but it's going to be like. And then a lot of other things is like having like you'll get $20,000 into a hood. But if you went in and I told you your project's going to be $300,000, you're like, okay, cool. Like, that's the budget we're going to work to. We're building a crazy high end, like a really, really nice car. But then you see that itemized on your bill, you're like, what the fuck? I'm not paying $18,000 for a hood. But if it still falls in line with the overall
brand,
budget,
yeah,
you shouldn't have a problem with that. That's just you being uneducated. But then there's like, no, these guys are fucking ripping me off. You're like, no, man, this is, when I quoted you 1,000 hours to build this thing, that 200 was for your hood. But as soon as they start seeing itemized builds, because those are the guys, like, I need an itemized bill, I need an itemized breakdown. You're like, ugh.
Yeah. But I mean, it's taking a lifetime of experience to be able to recognize, to be able to set those boundaries, to be able to like actually get to a point where when we do interact with our customers nowadays, it's way more positive than it is ever really negative. Like, we're not trying to come across like we just complain about this shit all the time. We don't really have a lot of issues.
People asking us, like, I've legitimately had people asking us how we mitigate it. And then this is pretty much it. But it was not an easy thing.
No. And I think more often than not, our business experience now is fairly positive. Almost all the time, because you have had to learn how to set those boundaries. So much
experience. Yeah, you learn.
So like, you'll see it, you'll ask me like, hey, what's going on with this? I'm like, I don't know. You didn't pay us, so we're not working on it.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening with this? Well, we're just waiting to get the money.
Another thing is like, I've had to like learn how to do this. You probably have too. It's like learning how to not get so emotionally attached to a project that's in the shop.
Yeah.
Like, if this project's going along smooth and whatever, for whatever reason, now all of a sudden the project comes to an end, we have to be able just to accept, okay, well, this project is leaving our shop. Just let it go.
Yeah, I think
it's not just try not to like overthink that. Just let it go.
I think Morgan Clark had a very good, saying about that too, of like not getting
it was a real
too.
thing. Like, we get so invested in these cars, and then like we didn't want to let anybody touch them, and we got to do this and take it here and go there, and it's like you baby these things, and it's like now I don't really care.
Well, especially like
I
in the
care,
earlier years,
but it's like shit changes. Like, somebody's financial situation might change. Maybe the car won't get finished. All this type of stuff, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, let's just get it through to the end." And then what?
Yeah.
And it's never what you think it is. Like, no matter what
Yeah.
they say, it's never what it is. Like, you know, you can take the car here, you can go. We have one guy, and it's like, I'll actually shout him out because it's Cletus. Is the only person in my entire history that it's like, the car is done, and it's like, go take it anywhere you want. And we've actually gotten to take it anywhere we want, which has been amazing. So those are the types of guys like, oh, it's got this little thing. I want to tidy this up. I want to do this. I'll fix this. And you get a certain amount of time with it where it's like, when you hand it over, it's perfect. But everybody else is like here 3 minutes after you finished it, and you never see it again.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't have the relationship that they pretend that you do, because it's a fake relationship. And then at the end, you're like, hey, can I get the car? I'd like to take it to this show. They're like,
Sorry.
yeah, man, I really needed the car that weekend. I got a wedding, or I was going to take the wife out. Like, yeah, next weekend, though. You're like, well, nothing's happening next weekend, so I don't need it. So,
Yeah.
Sweet.
We've had to learn how to, like, you
So
know.
there's another guy, the fucking, I'll get you your guys' own keys. You can take it to any show you want. Like, no, that guy's not real either.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Unless he wants to win the show.
Yeah.
But when he's done winning shows, that's the end.
That's it.
That's the end of your access. That's it.
Awesome. Anything else?
No.
There's
No,
probably
that was
someone
a-
that we forgot.
There was a few guys on that list,
There's a
and
few
we
guys.
we covered a few guys.
yeah, and one guy meant a lot of the.
Yeah, one guy is
80%
he's
of
checked
the
like
list.
9 of the boxes.
Oh my god.
So try not to be any of those guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you like this, give it a thumbs up. Check us out on social media if you do not follow us. TrickFactory Customs on everything. And we'll
You
see
got other
guys.
questions on how we mitigate things?
Yes. Hit us up at media@trickfactory.com or on Instagram or YouTube, anything. So we will see you guys later. Bye.